Hey listeners, I'm here with Bob Letta from All Alaska Outdoors. Bob, how long has All Alaska been operating for?
We hit the quarter century mark last year, and we're ready to kick off the second quarter century here in 2021.
Awesome. And where's All Alaska located?
All Alaska Outdoors is on the Kenai Peninsula. We're just outside the town of Soldotna. We're on a beautiful floatplain lake, about a 2.5-hour drive from Anchorage.
Awesome. I love it. And what can guests expect when they come to book a trip with All Alaska Outdoors?
Well, typically a guest would fly into Anchorage, rent a vehicle, drive to our lodge. They would have private suite accommodations. They would have a full kitchen, private living area, bathroom, high-speed wireless internet. Our packages include all of their fish processed, ready to go, airline ready package to fly home. And they would select from a very wide variety of activities to do, customize their own week, local river fishing, saltwater fishing at 3 different locations, and array of flyouts that exceeds anything anybody on the Kenai Peninsula offers.
And what type of species of fish can guests expect to target with All Alaska Outdoors?
The local rivers offer all 5 species of salmon: king salmon, silver salmon, sockeye salmon, humpback salmon, and chum salmon. The flyouts allow for fishing for grayling, giant northern pike, lake trout, rainbows, dolly varden. There's good local fishing for dolly varden and rainbows as well. And then the saltwater, we've got halibut, sea bass, lingcod, salmon are out there. We're catching kings, silvers, and humpies pretty regularly in the salt.
What can guests expect? Tell us what makes All Alaska unique and special.
I think it's our versatility. We just offer so many different things. We've got a really deep tool bag. We customize and try to meet the guest needs analysis for what is their perfect week. We can adjust packages to meet their budget. And I just think it's an amazing opportunity to have a reasonably priced package where you can put together local trips that are on the road system and flyouts and just do something different every day.
And where can we find All Alaska Outdoors?
You can see us on the web at allalaska.com. You can call us at 907-953-0186. And we have a nice Instagram page and a Facebook page where we cover a lot of what's going on.
Perfect. You've heard it here with Bob from All Alaska Outdoors. Hey, Fly Fishing Insiders. We are here with Togen's Fly Shop, and Justin and Stanton are back. Hey, guys, what's up?
Hey, Greg. Hi, Greg. How you doing?
Great. Justin, what's new for Togen's in 21?
For 2021, we've come out with a full line of Togen's tools, starting with our all-purpose scissors up to our tungsten carbide series, along with ceramic bobbins, aqua pliers, and just everything you need to get started tying.
And Stanton, as a pro team tyer, how does this benefit people?
Well, these are really high quality tools. The scissors are ultra sharp, able to cut threads, cut wires, get your thread right close to the fly, like on a small chironomid, like a size 18 or even a 20. I'm really enjoying one particular product I'm really enjoying is the hackle pliers. They have a fantastic grip. I use them to tie to quilled flies on nymphs and or hackle. They're fantastic with various types of different hackle. They really hold the hackle really well. I think people are really going to enjoy them.
Perfect. And Justin, where can we find these tools?
You can find the full collection of tools on our website at togensflyshop.com.
Excellent. Let's get back to the show. Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Keenan. This is Season 3 of the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. In this episode, we aim to bring you the biggest and best stories from those who work and make our fly fishing industry truly great. The Fly Fishing Insider Podcast dives deep into the past, present, and future of all our guests, uncovering their amazing stories and journey. Join us each week as we interview a new podcast guest. Also, if you're new to the show or not yet a subscriber, make sure you hit subscribe after this episode. Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider podcast. Today our guest, Bucky Buckstaber. Bucky, how's it going?
Going great.
Super excited you're here. We're pumped. I've been wanting to do this interview with you for quite some time, and thanks to Dupafish for actually introducing us here, and we get to talk because we are going to be talking about what you do with the Fly Fishing Collaborative and the amazing work. I mean, audience, this guy has a heart of gold, man, for the stuff that he's doing. So this is one episode that's going to be awesome. But like always, Bucky, I want to talk about you to start with here and how you got into fly fishing and how you fell into fly fishing. What grabbed you about fly fishing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I can't remember a specific moment that I really was, interested in fishing. I call it the fishing gene. And, I've worked with a lot of kids over the years, and I have kids myself, and there seems to be some kids that just carry this gene where they're just always interested in fish. And I was one of those kids. From the earliest memories that I can think of, I was always fascinated with fish and what's under the water. And my dad was a pretty delinquent dad. And so I didn't have a dad to teach me how to fish. Mm-hmm. I just remember learning how to fish on my own as a little kid in the woods in Lake Tahoe, where I grew up. And then I did have a grandfather, though. And my grandfather, I would spend time with him occasionally, and he used to take me fishing. And he's actually the first one to put a fly rod in my hands. And that was when I was about 14 years old. And that was when I would spend the summers with him here in Oregon on the Rogue River in Grants Pass. And he had a house on the river. And I'll never forget the day where I first learned how to cast a fly rod on his back lawn. And then about a year later, he took me on a little trip to Montana, and that's where I learned how to actually fly fish for the first time.
Cool. I do this, Bucky. Yeah. Bucky, it's just so amazing, your story. It's just like so many others. I mean, I do this a lot, and I always ask people, and man, I was thinking as you were talking about those early childhood memories, is what people remember the most, and how your grandpa took you and stuff like that. It's so funny. Like, everyone's so... exactly the same, myself included. Like, hey, so take your kids fishing is what I'm trying to say. Definitely important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. It is.
So,
it's funny because I don't, I take my kids fishing quite a bit. And I think, and for them, it's like my kids didn't necessarily get the fishing gene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so for them to stay attentive, I think they'll look back and really value the time that we spend on the water together. But, for them to really stay attentive, I need to take them to like a stocked pond, or the fishing's got to be good for them to stay interested in it for mm-hmm. hours. But then there's also those kids that will just, and I was one of those kids where they will sit on the dock and wait for a fish from sun up to sundown yeah. without losing any attention on, the possibility of catching a fish. And maybe I'll get some grandkids to have that gene, but I do really, I look back on the times that my grandpa, the few times mm-hmm. my grandpa spent with me fishing, and I can't tell you the value that has in my life. I mean, it's incredible. So it's definitely can't be underestimated, the importance of taking kids out fishing, for sure.
Oh, totally agree. Super cool. I just love it. So then, Bucky, what led you from growing up fishing, and now you created this awareness or this collaborative, this flight, like what led you to that stage and how did you get to that stage?
Yeah.
What made you want to drive to this mission? And I think I guess the question is, and I mean, without getting, I don't want to give too much away right away here, but what I want to do is, like what brought you to Fly Fishing Collaborative? I think that's the question I'm going to lead with here.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say this, without getting into too many of the details of my upbringing, I grew up a single parent kid, because, my brothers and I, we were all kind of, our dad left us. And so it was just my mom and my two brothers, the three of us boys, and my mom worked constantly. And there was a lot of trauma in the home. My mom, it took her a while to get on her feet and kind of live life productively. We were very poor. There was a lot of abuse in the home, and the river was my escape from childhood trauma, from the difficulties of just being in a very rough environment with my brothers. And I always found peace on the river. And I always found peace when I was fishing. Like from 8 years old, when I used to go down to the irrigation canals and hunt for carp. Mm-hmm. And up into my teenage years, when I would spend the summers with my grandpa and just float the river all day long by myself. And my grandma would pick me up at the end of the day right before sundown at the boat launch about 10 miles down from the house. And those moments were just like magical for me. And I feel like growing up, the rivers and fishing like served me as my own personal therapy. And it was incredible. But then there came a point where I matured and got healthy and productive in life. And I feel like there was a point where I didn't need the rivers to serve me the way they did before. Now it's like, how can I take this thing that did so much good in my life? Now, how can I take this and funnel it to benefit other people? And that's when kind of the very vague idea of the Fly Fishing Collaborative happened for me, because in a sense, something shifted in my thinking to where it's like, okay, I don't need to live and serve myself anymore, because it came down to this realization. And I think this is a massively important realization for all of us to have, is that when we exist not just for the benefit of ourselves, but we also can exist for the benefit of others, then we're going to thrive as the human beings that we're supposed to be. And so I thought, but here's the kicker.
Yeah.
Like we can do all sorts of things to benefit other people, but let's not compromise who we are and what we love to do in order to benefit the lives of others. And so like, this is a huge value for like FFC and how we were founded and how we roll, is that we can simply be who we are. We can do what we love to do. And for so many of us and so many of you that are listening, what do we love to do? We love to stand in the water and wave a stick at fish.
That's true.
And we can, and we love it. But we can do that not just for our own benefit, but we can do it to benefit the lives of other people, especially those that need help the most. And when we do that, we thrive.
So, with that said, and I'm going to jump in here because I think, with that said, we might as well jump in. You are doing exactly that. So what is Fly Fish Collaborative?
Yeah. So Fly Fishing Collaborative is a nonprofit that we started in 2014. And essentially we mobilized the fly fishing community to create sustainable solutions to poverty and human trafficking around the world. And I know, and for some people's minds, it can be a little bit of a stretch. You actually use fly fishing to combat poverty and human trafficking? Mm-hmm. How in the world is that possible?
That's my next question. Thanks for answering it.
And it's actually quite simple. Some friends of mine about, I would say 10 years ago, they had learned how to build these farms called aquaponic farming.
Mm-hmm.
And they a lot like me, they kind of have a heart that bleeds for marginalized and disenfranchised and poor people around the world. And they learned how to build these farms so that they could go travel and help orphanages become more self-sustainable. Because they could grow their own fish, they could grow their own produce, and they could sell it in the marketplace, and they could have a steady stream of income. And at the same time they were learning how to create these farms, I was like having this massive realization in my own life of just how we can benefit the lives of other people and how we can like do what we love to do, but not just for ourselves. And I wanted to do something to, in the fly fishing community, with the fly fishing community that was more than just serving self, but serving the good of others around the world. And so I'm thinking, like, what can I do with fly fishing that is more than just serving myself? And there's not to belittle like those that just fly fish for their own respite and for their own therapy. There is absolutely everything is good with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But for me personally, it's like I'm ready to go do something that's going to make an impact in the world. So how can I use fly fishing to do that? Because I want to do it through something that I love with the people that I love doing stuff with. And so I'm just thinking about this. And then my friends are learning how to build these farms. And my wife comes to me one day and she's like, that's it. Why don't we raise money through fly fishing to fund these farms? And I'm like, that's the light bulb moment.
Yeah.
I know what I'm supposed to do. We're going to call the fly fishing community to action, and we're going to raise money by doing what we love so that we can fund and build these farms for communities that desperately need them. Because we realize that we can actually create a sustainable resource. And for me, it's like I wanted to do something that was not just making an impact in the world, but that was really helping marginalized and abused children. Mm-hmm. And, I have a long history of working with kids. I have some trauma in my own past. I've worked with abused and neglected kids in the foster care system. I used to run camps for abused and neglected kids. Mm-hmm. And so there's a huge passion that I have for hurting kids. And the harsh reality, I know I'm talking and I'm monologuing a lot, but I get excited when I talk about this because FFC for me is a dream come reality, you know?
Yeah, I do. I do. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And the harsh reality is this, that it's estimated that there are 27 million people in the world being trafficked. No, I'm sorry, 24.9 million people being trafficked in the world today. And out of that, 50% are sexually exploited, and 70% of them are women and young kids. And most of them are being sold as a commodity simply because they have a lack of resource, because they're living in poverty. And so we thought, we could actually create a resource for them through these farms that will lessen the likelihood of them being commoditized and sold. Mm. And so that's why we do what we do.
Okay, Bucky, I'm blown away by what you want to do, but I want to make a bigger impact on my listeners. I want you to take us there because I'm sure you've been there. You've seen firsthand now. I mean, I don't want super explicit details or anything of the horrors that you might have witnessed, but I want you to take us there and describe like how this affects each of us and how, like waving, like you said at the beginning, waving a stick in the middle of a river. Do you know what I mean? How this all translates. I get the farming, I get all that, but like take us in on a deeper level if you can, of what is probably, what is happening.
What's happening out in the
in the
like
in the communities, in the communities, and how these people are being trafficked, and you know what I mean. Like it's just ridiculous. You know, and because I wanted to hit home with the listeners because it's hitting home with me right now, and I mean that's because I'm human and and I have emotion, but I want to really hit it home so that we can sit there and point out, not just the good work that this is imperative that people get involved.
Yeah,
and that's my key.
So I mean, there's a lot of ways that traffickers coerce their victims into trafficking. And the common thread, obviously poverty is a major thread throughout trafficking worldwide. But the major thread is vulnerability. And so traffickers hone in on the vulnerable. And that vulnerability could be, caused by poverty. It could be caused by disconnected community and relationships. It could be caused by trauma, lack of education. All these different vulnerabilities come into play that traffickers look for to use as tools to manipulate and control their victims.
Mm-hmm.
And so, think of a village up in the, the high mountain villages up in Thailand, and they have very little food source, very impoverished, very little economy. Traffickers will go, no education, and traffickers, and this is very, very common, traffickers will go up into those hill tribe villages and they'll pose as educators or factory workers. And they'll say, hey, you can't take care of your children. And maybe some of the parents have died and there's a bunch of kids being taken care of by an aunt or an uncle or an older sibling or something like that, or just somebody else in the village. And they'll say, you're overwhelmed. You can't take care of this, but we're looking for people to work in this factory, and we'll give them a good wage and we'll educate them. And so we'll take care of your children for you, and we'll let you know how well they're doing, and they'll be able to come back and support you and the village. And so, the aunt or the uncle or whoever the guardian is for those children, they're like, yeah, I mean, Mike, I can't feed the kids. I need a solution. And so they'll just sign off. And sometimes the traffickers will even give them some front money and say, just so that you can have confidence that this factory or whatever it is making money. And then they'll let them take the kids, thinking that the kids are going to get educated and work in a factory and go to school and all this. But in reality, the kids disappear and they get thrown into brothels and in prostitution rings and are never heard of again.
That was my next question.
That's the tragedy. Yeah.
They're never heard of again.
Yep.
Wow. That's just,
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's some of the, the dark parts of the world that we don't like to think about.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think of the millions of kids that, this is happening to, then we actually have to talk about it and we have to do something.
That's why we're here. That's why the listeners are here.
That's why we're here.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I mean,
yep.
You got these people, they're posing as that. The families unsuspectingly fall for, the bait. It's unfortunate. Now, by you giving these families the tools of farming and, the aqua farming, this is avoided, correct? Potentially.
Yeah, you're really lessening the likelihood. And so
minimizing
what we do is we kind of, exactly, yeah. And we kind of have three different approaches to how we kind of circumvent this through our aquaponics farming development. One is we look for those communities, and we'll build a farm that will help generate some jobs and some income for those communities. But what we also do is we'll find safe, and safe homes are homes that are set up to care for kids that have been rescued from brothels and prostitution rings, and they've got no family to speak of, and or they were sold by their parents, which is also very common. They've been sold by their parents or their grandparents or whatever it is. And so now they've got, and rather than, being, stuck in that brothel, these safe homes are set up to care for the kids and rehabilitate them and give them, a pathway to a better life. And so we'll find those safe homes and we'll build a farm to help those safe homes become more self-sustaining.
Have you ever visited a safe home?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like anybody or
you personally.
What do you mean?
Have you ever visited?
Oh yeah, because I've visited dozens of them because we go and we build farms for the homes on site at the home.
What's the trauma? Think of the trauma. What's the trauma like? Like walk us through that. Walk us through that experience. Like,
oh man. Okay. So there's a safe home that we built a farm for in Mexico City. And it's got at the time that we built the farm there was a small safe home. There's about a dozen girls, and every one of them had been rescued from traffickers. And so the home is very, very, very secure. There's literally a fortress around the home, a walled fortress, because once the kids get rescued, traffickers are losing massive income, and they will do whatever they can to get their girls back. And so, and that was an urban farm. And so, it was really, really, they were really very careful to keep this home, a secret. But the girls in the home had suffered all sorts of abuse. So one poor girl, she, her hand was mangled. She was losing some, she was missing a couple of fingers. And this is all like done by traffickers to control them and to control them through abuse. And sometimes they'll control them by getting them pregnant. And then they will basically have leverage. Now that they have a child with this victim, now they have leverage. If you don't do what I say, you'll never see your kid again, or will harm your kid. Or they'll just control them by keeping them addicted to drugs, and the trafficker will be their only source of that drug. And so now they've got tons of leverage on them, because if they want their next fix, they have to go to their trafficker and do what their trafficker wants them to do. And this is the type of lifestyle that these girls are experiencing. There was one girl that was literally chained to her stove, or the trafficker's stove in the kitchen, all day and all night long, literally chained.
Wow.
And that, I mean, that's the type of abuse that they're literally treated like animals, and they're commoditized and objectified. And it's just, and these are little girls. I mean, it's absolutely heart-wrenching.
I can imagine. I'm heart-wrenched hearing about it right now. I mean, it's just, wow.
Yeah.
You guys, I can't stress it enough. You guys are doing such amazing work, for sure. And even if, like you said, you rescued a dozen in this situation, that's just like a dozen less that are being hurt.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. The people that are doing the amazing work are the house parents and the directors of these safe homes, that are, I mean, they're actually going into the brothels in raids, rescuing these kids, and dedicating their lives to sheltering them and caring for them and giving them a new hope and a new future. They're the heroes. They're the heroes. All we want to do is we want to help them be successful.
Yeah.
And so we'll go in and we're like, hey, you know what? You're like, sometimes these safe homes are set up by just a couple of like parents in the community that are so burdened by these kids in their village or their community being lost that they will start taking them in, and they'll start feeding them on their own dime. And so it's like, these are the people that we want to come in and we want to help become sustainable.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Crazy. You know, and you're doing this, you're going there, you're setting everything up. Like, walk us through that process. Walk us through, you know, how do you get the materials there? How do you, you know, raise capital for the materials, to do these successful, the aquaponics?
Yeah, great question. So the way that we raise capital for these projects is, it's basically, I mean, it's through our fly fishing events. It's through direct support. You know, we have a lot of different events throughout the year that are just fundraisers. Every year in March, which we just had our annual auction and banquet, and that is probably the backbone of our fundraising. Every year we've got this big event in Portland. It was virtual this year, which actually turned out to be awesome because we're able to get people from, you know, Colorado and California and New York, and but typically we have this huge banquet and auction in Portland that raises a ton of capital to build these farms. We'll do like fly fishing film tour showings in different theaters as fundraisers, which is awesome. Every year we have one in Bend, we have one in Eugene. We've had them up in Seattle. We different people that love and support what we do will host their own fundraiser. At their fly shop or at a theater in their local town, just to raise money for what we're doing. And then of course direct support is a huge, people just giving towards we're a 501c3 tax deductible organization. So people catch wind of what we're doing and they want to continue to move the mission forward. So we've got a lot of generous donors that will sponsor farms.
Absolutely.
And so that's how that works. Yeah.
So then
we also have a line of products.
Okay. What type of products you got?
It's pretty cool. Yeah. We partnered with a leather company out of Texas, and they helped us design and launch these cool, like heirloom quality, like the classic, like what your grandpa used to fish with, leather and wool fly wallets and leather cases and rod cases. These really cool, like heirloom quality leather and canvas goods that are just a lot of fun.
Awesome. I love it. Definitely love. Definitely something that many fly fishers will definitely want to own something like that. So I want to ask you though, Bucky. Here's what I'm going to ask you. Basically, how can I get involved? What level of involvement can I or the general public get involved with in supporting your cause, pushing your cause forward, raising capital for your cause, and all those key points? But before you answer that question, let's take a quick moment here. Let's hear from our sponsor. Let's come back and let's answer that question. All right, we're going to kill 3 minutes here. This is awesome. I can't believe the amount of work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
No, for sure. I know I had to go down that road, but we've kind of painted a picture so that, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to pull on people's heartstrings so that we can, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you can...
That's the reality of that we face. Yeah, for sure.
If we can pull on people's heartstrings, maybe they'll get involved. Maybe they'll sit there and think 3 times about it, and say, I need to. I know you got your, you just finished your thing, but maybe there's some other form of involvement that people can do for you guys. I think that'd be great.
Oh, right.
So, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Definitely do that. What else is I going to ask you? What is there anything else that you wanted to touch base on? I know we're kind of, after this here, we'll be kind of tapering it down here.
Yeah. Not that I can think of. I mean, yeah, whatever you have, whatever questions you might come up with. So, I don't have any, again, I don't have an agenda.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
Kind of sharing who we are. Do so
exactly. No, you're killing it. You're doing good. No, it's awesome. So basically 1 more minute to go.
Right.
Basically, yeah, what we'll do is we'll just I'll talk about the level of involvement. We'll figure that out, see where you kind of go with that, see what other questions I can come up with off the cuff, and then we'll slowly taper out of it. It's a quick interview, but it's been good. So
good. Awesome.
And then you can get back on that river. Get those spring steelhead.
Yeah.
Get the spring steelhead.
Yeah, that's right. I know my steelhead fishing has been very limited this year, unfortunately, which is unlike me.
It has?
I'm kind of a steelhead junkie.
Yeah. What's going on? You guys have should be a good time.
It's distance learning my kids at home.
Oh. Are your schools shut down?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They've been shut down all year.
Oh.
Yep. All distance learning at home. So, yep.
That is not fun. They tried that out here for a bit, and then both my wife and I are nurses, so they open it up for first responders. They're like, okay, if you're a first responder, your kids can go to school. So we were like, yep.
Yeah.
Both of us are first responders, and they just slid right in there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna count it down here from 3. All right, Bucky, we're back. So I was just asking you, again, how can the general public get involved and support your cause going forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, there's several ways that the general public can get involved. Obviously, one is just sharing what we're doing with, through social media or whatever it is. I mean, the more people that we can have on board with, the collaborative, and it's collaborative. We call it collaborative for a reason, because this is done through a massive community. And so just sharing is huge. Sharing, what we're doing with other people that, might have an interest. Obviously financial support, we're just about to launch a reoccurring giving program. We have some very generous donors that are amazing. And we've got an incredible event in Portland every year, but we want to create more of a sustainable, steady income, for the organization. And so, we're really trying to grow our reoccurring givers. That's just people that'll give like $10 a month or $20 a month or $100 a month. And to kind of build that out, that's huge. That makes a massive difference for the organization.
So let me ask you this. If I gave you $10 a month, what's in it for me? Because that's what everyone in this world is all about. What is in it for me? I give you, do I get a sticker? Do I get a hat? Is there something you get in return?
Yeah, actually you do. And I know that people love to, that's just human nature. We want to give, and get, sure, why not? But, well, first of all, the most important thing is just knowing that.
Correct.
Knowing that you're giving to something that is actually making a difference.
Correct.
You can't beat that. You just can't beat that.
No.
And there is so much health through generosity, so much health in giving. The more we get, the greedier and more, I think corrupt we can become. And so practicing generosity is huge. And, it's more blessed to give than to receive, right? So that's huge. But we like to give too. So if there's different levels. And so if you give I can't remember exactly what the levels are. I'd have to look at it because we haven't officially launched it yet, but you're going to get like stickers and you're going to get a hat, or you're going to get a shirt. We've got lots of FFC swag, at certain levels. And then you'll also, those that are going to join our reoccurring giving program will have, and this is just for we're going to call it like a sustainable partnership program.
Yep.
And I will have a monthly FaceTime, Skype, or Zoom meeting with just that community to share updates and talk about what their money is doing through FFC. And because we are, doing this as a community. And so I want to stay connected to everybody that is supporting this cause because we're all doing it together.
That's awesome. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
I think that's fly fishers, audience listeners, definitely, get involved, get out there, get involved. Even if it's a one-time donation, you do take one-time donations, at the very least.
No, of course.
You know what I mean? Put down the coffee, brew your coffee at home instead of driving through the drive-through and just, give $5. That's my call to action on that for sure. Because it is, like you said, It definitely makes me think twice and take for, I guess some of us take for granted when we're out there on the water, what is happening. You know, it's our escape, but there's some people that can't escape unless they get the help from people like yourself. You know, they're trapped and they're forced in these situations, and you are helping them to escape and enjoy a better life for sure. So, you know, with that said, let's fast forward here. Like, tell me, like, what's the Fly Fishing Collaborative's dream 5 years from now? What do you see big picture wise? What would you ultimately like to see? Money's no object.
Yeah. Great question. I would love to see bigger farms, more farms. We've been able to build 12 farms in 10 different countries since we started 7 years ago. And that is just absolutely awesome. And as we've grown as an organization, so has the quality of our farms. And we just, all of our farms probably average about like a 1,500 square foot greenhouse farm, that can care for, 30, 40, 50 kids or whatever and create a job or two. But we want that to grow exponentially. We want to be able to grow, develop some pretty large scale commercial farms that would really create jobs in these communities that we want to serve, and some industry outside of the dark, polluted, trafficking industry. So that would really circumvent that. And so it's just continued to grow. And multiply the amount of farms and the size of the farms that we build every year.
Okay.
That's where we see us going in the next 5 years.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge goal. That's, we definitely want to support that and make sure that you guys definitely do that. So what else is there?
Yeah.
What else is there that you see, the direction of how are you marketing or branding or getting out the word of the Fly Fishing Collaborative? Like, how can we help with that besides this podcast?
Yeah. I think, what I love to see is I love it when people, we're all about creativity, and, we've had some really fun kind of little initiatives that have surfaced up through some of our other collaborators. For instance, there's been one little fly tying initiative, and this has been so fun. A bunch of fly tyers got together and started tying flies and donating them to FFC so that we could post them on our website and sell them. And so we have this network of this is the whole idea of doing what you love, being who you are, doing what you're good at, but doing it to benefit the lives of other people. So all these fly tyers just thought, I'm tired of just tying flies, and it's getting a little, tired just doing it for my next fish or for myself. So I'm just going to tie them and donate them to FFC and see what they could do with them. And it created this fly tying initiative that is actually become a really cool little income stream that is helping the organization move forward just by selling flies. So I love it when people just kind of think creatively and mobilize their community to support what we're doing. And so don't hesitate in starting your own little initiative in your own community to help move our mission forward, because it's our mission, all of us, Fly Fishing Collaborative, the fly fishing community doing amazing things around the world. Share with your local community or your, Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is. And just think creatively. So it's fun to watch those things kind of pop up and develop.
Absolutely. Well, if someone wanted to reach out to you, where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you? What's the best way to do so?
Yeah, flyfishingcollaborative.org is our website. We have an Instagram, Fly Fishing Collaborative. You can email me, Bucky at Fly Fishing Collaborative. Those are the best ways to reach us. So yeah, definitely check out our website, see what we're doing. There's lots of stories about our past projects. We've got a blog where we'll, announce, and we'll do it through newsletters. Sign up for our newsletter, because we also love to have volunteers come with us on our farm builds. These farm builds are a lot of work, and it takes a lot of hands to construct one of these projects in just a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. And so we bring teams of volunteers with us to share the work. And it's an incredible experience going out to one of these orphanages or one of these safe homes or one of these communities and developing a farm and handing it over to this community. I can't tell you how fulfilling that is. It's amazing. So, stay tuned with what our projects. We got a big Belize project coming up here in May. We've got a Peru farm build coming up this summer. We've got Uganda coming up. We've got Honduras. I mean, we have a long list of communities that we plan to build farms for in the next couple of years.
That's just amazing. You know what, fly fishers, get involved, get active, get out, help these guys out for sure. We are 100% supportive of all the hard work you're doing. You know, you got you and your team, congrats, like from the bottom of my heart. You guys are doing amazing things. This is why I started this podcast, like to share these stories that, get them out there for sure. So, Bucky, with that said, I wish you guys all the best. Any way that we can support you, we will definitely do so. Listeners, I want to thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Anytime, buddy.
It's been a pleasure.
Anytime. All right. Thanks, guys. You've been listening to the Fly Fishing Insider podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, tell us by liking this episode and subscribing to the show. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. See you next week.